Welcome and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I painted a cozy Christmas watercolor illustration with a red mug, hot cocoa, marshmallows, and the little gingerbread man. I've been enjoying these hot cocoa images lately. They look cute, cozy, and a little festive. And because I like cocoa too, painting this kind of image feels relaxing for me. For this painting, I used transparent yellow from Sennelier, Vermillion from Sennelier, burnt sienna from Vinci, neutral tint from Sennelier, titanium white from Schmincke, and royal blue from Sennelier. First, for the gingerbread man, mix burnt sienna and a little bit of transparent yellow. This makes a warm brown tone. For the cinnamon stick and the star anise, I mixed burnt sienna with a little neutral tint to create a color similar to burnt umber. It's darker than burnt sienna. For the red cup, I use vermilion and control the value by changing the amount of water. For the darker parts of the cup, I mix vermilion with a little neutral tint to make a deeper red color. For the shadows on the marshmallows, the icing on the cookie, and the white decorations on the cup, I mix neutral tint, transparent yellow, and royal blue with plenty of water. This makes a soft light shadow color. For this painting, I used several brushes and tools. My main brushes are number 12, 6, and 2 rounds from Princeton Heritage. A number 2 round from Silver is for painting with white gouache. For the splatter effect, I use a hog bristle craft brush. For lifting small areas, I use a Jan brush by Royal Langnickel. The Princeton Lauren brush is for applying masking fluid. For tracing, I use the 0.5mm ballpoint pen. For the sketch, I just used my son's HB pencil. And for masking fluid from Winsor Newton. Now let's move on to the tracing part. After you download the line drawing, print it out on regular copy paper. Cut it to the size you want, then flip the paper over. On the back, shade along all the lines with a regular HB pencil. This graphite will transfer onto your watercolor paper later. After shading the back, flip it to the front again and place it onto your watercolor paper. Fix it in place with masking tape. I used a 0.5mm blue ballpoint pen to trace the lines, so I could easily see which parts I had already traced. Because watercolor paper has texture, the lines won't go smoothly at once. Just move your pen slowly back and forth, following the bumps on the paper. It takes some time, but I try to see this tracing time as a kind of meditation, a moment to remind myself how grateful I am to have this time, this space, these art supplies to paint slowly. After the tracing is done, I soften the lines with a kneaded eraser. I gently dab the pencil lines so they become lighter. For the white areas, I erase even more, especially the marshmallows, the cookie icing, and the white decoration on the cup. These areas need to stay clean and bright, so I remove as much graphite as possible. When applying masking fluid, I treat it just like painting. The process is very similar. The Winsor & Newton masking fluid I use has a yellow tint, so it's easy to see where I already applied it. For very small and sharp areas, I use a silicone detail tool. I used this tool long ago when I was working with polymer clay, and it still works well with masking fluid. I let the masking fluid dry naturally. I don't use heat tool because the heat can make the masking fluid stick too tightly to the paper. When that happens, it can tear the paper when you remove it later. So I always let it air dry slowly. For the gingerbread man, I start with a number 6 round brush. First, wet the whole cookie with clean water. This helps the pigment spread smoothly and evenly. Then apply a coffee consistency mix of burnt sienna and transparent orange. If you join my email list, you can watch the full real-time painting video about 1 hour and 20 minutes. You will also get the line drawing and the 72 dpi color image for web only. The link is in the description below. After signing up, please check your email for the confirmation message. It sometimes goes to the spam folder. You will receive everything after you confirm your email. While the surface is still wet, I add burnt sienna to the lower right side of the cookie to create a soft shadow. I also add a small shadow on the lower right side of each icing line. Now I'm moving on to the cinnamon stick. For this color, I mix the burnt sienna with a little neutral tint to make a deeper brown. First, I wet only light areas with water. This helps the color blend softly. While the surface is still wet, I add a darker brown to the lower right side to create a soft shadow. Now I'm moving on to the star anise. For this color, I mix the burnt sienna with a little neutral tint to make a darker brown. I start with the light wash, then I slowly add more pigment to build the shadows. When I practiced before filming, I applied masking fluid on the outer edges of each petal and also on the small seed inside. It made the painting much easier. But while recording this video, I completely forgot to do that, so you will see me wandering a little bit, trying to keep the shapes clean without the masking fluid. Because I didn't mask anything this time, I will add white gouache later to bring back the highlights and define the edges more clearly. I keep adjusting the value, adding more pigment for the deeper shadows. Now I'm painting the cup. First, I paint the whole cup with Vermillion wash in a coffee consistency. If you like this video so far, please subscribe and like this video. It really helps my channel and makes a big difference. Then I make the darker areas by charging in thicker Vermillion while the surface is still wet. For the lighter edge, I use a damp brush to lift the paint and make a soft highlight. Later, I mix Vermillion with a little neutral tint again to add deeper shadows and make the cup look more solid. I want a little yellow tone on the cinnamon stick. I glaze it once with the transparent yellow mixed with a lot of water. Before the glaze dries, I use the deeper brown again and charge it in to make the shadows stronger. Now I'm working on the star anise. I cannot see the outer edge of each petal very well. I forgot to mask this part in the beginning, so the shape is a little confusing for me right now. Normally, I keep the edge clean by using masking fluid, but I didn't do it today, so I'm adding white gouache to bring back the highlight and to define the outside shape. This helps me see the form more clearly and continue painting. Now I'm making the shadows darker on the gingerbread man and cinnamon stick. I take the dark brown color and I place it along the shadow line on the lower right side. After that, I use damp brush to soften the edge and blend it out smoothly. I repeat the same technique for the icing on the cookie, icing lines on the gingerbread man, and also for the cinnamon stick. The shadow becomes softer but still deep, and everything looks more grounded. Now I'm painting the marshmallows. For the shadow color, I mix transparent yellow with just a tiny bit of neutral tint. I use this light mixture to paint the shadow areas on each marshmallow. I keep building the layers slowly. Because marshmallows are soft and round, some shadow edges look a little too hard. When that happens, I use a lifting brush to soften the edge and make the shape smoother. For the core shadow, I place it right on the border between the light area and the form shadow. For the core shadow, this is the darkest part of the form. I use a diluted neutral tint wash to paint this area area gently. I continue adding small adjustments so each marshmallow looks round and soft. And then I added a little bit of royal blue from Sennelier for the core shadow. Now I adjust the star anise to match the overall balance of the painting. I use burnt sienna mixed with a little neutral tint and control the darkness as I paint. I add the darker tones slowly so the star anise fits well with the rest of the picture. Now I remove all the masking fluid, and when everything comes off, the white decoration on the cup looks really sharp, almost like someone cut the paper with a knife. So first, I mix Vermillion with a little neutral tint and paint the shadow right under the white decoration. Just a thin shadow line to show that decoration is sitting on top of the cup. Then I soften the shadow gently so it blends in and doesn't look too harsh. And after that, I add a very diluted yellow wash right along the top edge of the white decoration. Just a tiny touch, almost nothing. But this small hint of color helps the white area look more natural, not flat, not cut out, and more three-dimensional. Now I'm adding the finer highlights with white gouache. I also place a few small white dots to give the whole painting a cute illustration style look. After that, I use the white gouache again with a dry brush technique to add a little texture on the cinnamon stick and on the gingerbread man. This gives them a slightly rough, realistic surface and finishes the whole piece nicely. Now I'm painting the cast shadow under the cup. I use neutral tint for this shadow. I keep the edge between the cup and the shadow nice and sharp. After that, I wet the paper on the side that is farther from the cup so the shadow can spread softly as it moves away from the cup. Then I build the value little by little, adding a few more layers to make the shadow darker and more grounded. I also use a damp brush, control the soft edge, and keep the shadow in the right shape. And if you want to see more paintings like this, subscribing and liking the video really supports my channel. Thank you again. I'll see you in the next video.